Welcome back to the Griot. We're spending an hour with comedic extraordinaire Tony Rock. It's time for a game, Tony. This game is called This or That. It's a rapid fire round of questions where I give you two options and you just got to give one. You can't explain it. You can't break it down. You just got to answer the question. All right. First one, Dave Chappelle or Eddie Murphy?
Dave Chappelle.
Tony Rock or Chris Rock?
Chris Rock.
Boys to Men or New Edition?
New Edition. Come on.
All right. Before I Let Go, the Maze version, Frankie Beverly version, or What You Won't Do for Love by Bobby Caldwell?
Whoa.
Yeah, we turned it up a notch.
Gotta go Maze before I let go.
Okay, because that was about to be two Philadelphia artists that you just rejected. You already dissed Boys to Men. I was like, if he get rid of Frankie Beverly too, man, we have to end this interview early. All right, drums or flats?
Flats.
Soul food or Jamaican food?
Soul food.
Woo! That's the only one I got wrong for you, man. I thought the Brooklyn was going to come out with that Jamaican. Everybody stay right here. On the other side, Tony talks about his career and the keys to success. All right, everybody. Thanks for staying with us on the Griot. I am Marc Lamont Hill. I'm back with the comedian, the actor, the legend, Tony Rock, my brother. Talk to me about your career. How did you get started in comedy?
I'll try to make a long story very short. I started out, I fell in love with listening to records, Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby, George Carlin. I would go to school the next day and tell all their jokes and get in trouble because I was using blue language. Teacher told my mother said, you can't do that. That's this guy's job. That's what he gets paid to do. I saw Richard Pryor on TV one day and I said, hey, that's the guy from the record. She said, yeah, he does movies, he does TV shows, he does the records. And I'm like, wow, well, I really want to do that. And that was the first love. Then I saw Eddie Murphy on SNL years later, and Eddie looked like me and kind of dressed like me. And I was like blown away that a young person that looked like me from Brooklyn was doing this thing I loved. And that furthered my love for it. And then when the guy in the next room started doing stand-up, that made it real for me because Eddie and Richard were just ideals to me. I had never met them, never had a conversation with them. But when the guy in the next room, my brother Chris, started doing stand-up, then that was real. It was like, oh, I can really do this because I can actually touch this guy and talk to this guy. So if he can do it, I can do it. And years later, after he started, I was in public school. When I got to high school, I started writing material. I graduated. A few down years because my father had passed after I graduated high school, so a few down years. But then when I got myself focused on life and being the greatest I could possibly be, I said, let's go try stand-up. And the rest has been history. I've been loving it ever since.
When you decided on your style, if it was an actual decision, you got these records in front of you. You got Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, which you could say in some ways is a similar style. They're different, but there's something there. Bill Cosby's a whole different lane. And then you got your brother, who's a whole different kind of lane. How did you sort of come together or put together your style of comedy, how you felt like you should approach the art?
I used to sit on the stoop in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and we call it snapping. Other people call it jonesing or ranking or whatever. We call it snapping. We would sit on the stoop and just snap on everybody on the block. We had so many characters on our block that we would just, anybody that walked past, we would just snap on them. And I always felt like that was a strong suit to my style, was like very, like talking to my friends. So if you ever see me do stand-up, I call it a conversation with Tony Rock because it's topic related, but then there's portions of the show where I just go into the room and talk to the room or just whatever the feeling is. It's like takes it back to the stoop aspect for me and always makes it fun for me and always makes it a new show for the audience. So you can see a Tony Rock show 10 times and see 10 different shows. You, since you started in the industry, have taken the path that your family taught you about, right? Which is, you act, you do stand-up, you do all these different things like Richard Pryor. Does comedy still stick with you as the best thing? And I ask that because so many of my favorite comedians don't take the stage anymore. So many comedians who I love are taking that acting money. And I don't know if it's because their love changes or because the checks are bigger, but they don't do it anymore. So, like, where does your heart stay and how is comedy in relation to these other arts for you? I think they do it because the checks are bigger. I could be guessing, but I think they do it because the checks are bigger. And then it's so hard to get back to stand-up after you haven't done it for 5, 6 years, it's very hard to get back to. That's why, if you notice,
Why?
myself and my brother, we never stop. It's always stand up. We stand up first and foremost.
Why is it so? Why is it so
will always be
difficult
first.
though?
Every opportunity. Because
Tony, why is it so
grow
difficult
up
to go back? Because Eddie Murphy said the same thing. He's like, I could do it again, but it won't be funny, right? When people ask him why he don't just go back and hit the stage real fast. What makes it so difficult if that's your first talent?
Yeah, it's your first talent, but you have been working at that talent every day, all day when you first start. Eddie's been away so long. He's been away longer than he's been doing it daily. So I could agree. It's going to be difficult for him to try to get back on stage and be the Eddie that we want to see. See, Eddie can get back on, but if he's not the Eddie we want to see, he's going to know it. He's going to know, like, oh, they
True.
didn't. We're not feeling him like we don't see him the way he was. And it's like being a heavyweight fighter, getting beat up in your latter years. It just doesn't feel good to be the once was the former champion. It just doesn't. It's not a good feeling.
And so when you talk about you, your brother, others who never stop, who keep doing it every day or every week or whatever, is that a discipline? Are you writing jokes every day? Are you thinking of material every day? Are you polishing material every day? Like, what does it look like to maintain a comedy kind of discipline outside of just being in the clubs all the time?
The comedy discipline is this. I write every day. I keep the pad anywhere in the hotel, anywhere in the room when I'm on the road. When I'm home, the pad is next to the bed. It's every day. You write every day. I put paper to pen every single day. I try to get on stage every single night. It's just a discipline that you grow into, and then to not do it feels weird to you. I do it so much this way. If I'm off stage for maybe 2 days or 3 days in a row, I feel weird because I do it so much.
Wow. Do you ever, and this is me playing therapist for a minute, do you ever feel that in your personal life, because you're so used to people laughing and so used to getting approval from crowds and audiences, that does that affect how you navigate people in your regular life who just want you to be regular Tony?
No, it doesn't. When I get off stage, I turn it off. I don't even like comics that are on all the time. I don't see how they do it, actually, because you have to turn it off so you can observe people and walk amongst the people and write for the people. You're writing stuff that you want people to say, I agree with that, or I disagree with that. So you can't be on all the time if you're going to write about people. You have to turn it off and be a regular person so that you can be a superhero later.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Speaking of superheroes, man, to me, some of the superheroes right now are the people who are protesting, the people who are really leading the charge in the writer's strike and in the SAG strike. Has the strike affected you?
Theatrically, yes. There's no auditions. There's no. I have a script that was circulating and actually getting a lot of positive feedback, and then the strike happened, so that just had to just put that on the back burner for a little while. I shot my special. I was shopping that. And they're not really looking at anything right now because everybody's out protesting, and so it has affected me theatrically and as far as like my production stuff. But comedically, no, I get to go on the road and just take every road gig I want right now because there's nothing going on in Hollywood.
It's funny you say that because I spend a lot of time interviewing actors, and I've spent the last 2 or 3 weeks interviewing a bunch of actors who keep telling me, yeah, I'm going to do my first comedy show in 6 months or in 6 years. I'm going to hit the road. I'm going to do a one-man, one-woman show. It's like the comedy clubs and the theaters are filling up with people who are trying to fill those gaps, but you already there, which is what we appreciate about you, man. You're not doing it just for the money. You're doing it for the love of the craft, man. What are you working on right now that we can catch you at? Like, where can we see you? Where can we see you do stand-up?
I got San Antonio, Omaha, Nebraska, San Jose, and then Oxnard, my next 4 gigs.
Oxnard? Where's Oxnard? I'm sorry, I ain't get that far.
California. It's like an hour outside. I think it's like an hour outside of LA.
Oh wow. Okay. So that's an interesting thing too, man, because you don't just do the big black cities. You do the big white cities. You do the rural cities. You do the California where there's no black people there, or do you change your material? Do you change your material from location to location?
No, I'm a black man. I'm not a black comic. I'm a comic. I write jokes for everybody. When I write a joke, I'm not writing a joke like this is going to make black people laugh. I write a joke like this is going to make people laugh. So I can take those jokes anywhere. Now, don't get me wrong. Some jokes hit harder in Atlanta than they do in Spokane, Washington. But, I still write the jokes for everyone.
Well, you write them for everyone, and everyone enjoys them, man. That's why you've been on the road successfully, on our screen successfully for so long, man. We really appreciate everything you do. Everybody, stay right here. We're going to take another break. There is a docuseries that's paying homage to women trailblazers in hip-hop, and we want to find out what he thinks about it. Stay right here. Welcome back to The Griot and our full hour with comedian Tony Rock. Right now, I want to get into some music headlines. Some are causing quite the conversation.
Black women are crushing it in hip-hop right now. Dominating the charts, being the ultimate influences of the culture.
Rappers, writers, and industry insiders lay it all on the table for a new Netflix documentary called Ladies First, a story of women in hip-hop. The 4-part series honors some of the greatest women MCs to hit the stage. It debuts August 9th. I want to bring in Tony Rock to help me think about it. A lot of people have said that it's dope that they got all these women hip-hop artists, but Missy Elliot ain't in it, Nicki Minaj isn't in it, and that it's very, how can I put it, very modern-centered, like that the legends ain't in it enough. Do you feel like in hip-hop culture, and maybe it's a bigger cultural issue, that we sometimes forget the architects, that we only focus on the new, that we're too prisoner to the moment?
Man, that's such a good question. That's actually one of the worst aspects of hip hop, is that we date our acts. We date our hip hop legends. Like, the Stones could go on tour tomorrow and sell out every football stadium in the country doing an album from 20 years ago. But we'll see that Big Daddy Kane is in the studio, and we're like, man, he old, man. He is not any worse than he was the day he started. He didn't get worse. He probably got better. We won't go see Rakim. It's like, oh, he played out, man. But for some reason, black people tend to just have a shelf life with our culture, our music, our fashion, our dances, our interactions with each other. It's like a shelf life on the things that we really loved at a time, and we just say, okay, that's done.
Yeah, I have a similar frustration, and I think part of it is we have to do a better job of teaching the previous generation about our legends and raising them up as legends. I had a debate at least once a month with my producer, who's in the room right here with me, about LL Cool J. He's like, LL Cool J can't rap. It started as a LL Cool J versus J. Cole debate. And when we're talking about the greatest MCs who's had a greater career, you can like J. Cole. J. Cole can rap his face off. I love J. Cole. But if you're talking about who had a greater career, to me, LL is indisputable. But he couldn't appreciate just how big a deal LL Cool J was in the 1980s or the 1990s or the 2000s. I mean, there's a way, again, that we don't do that. But like you said, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, whoever, like white people make sure in certain circles that those people are raised up properly, and we just throw ours away. Do you worry that happens in comedy too?
No, actually, it doesn't have any comedy. That's the great thing. Comedy, you grow as you grow, your material changes. So you go from being the young guy that's out on the road, and the groupies are crazy and all this crazy stuff that's going on, and then you come back for your next special, and you're like, hey, I just had a baby, and you tell that aspect of your life, and your fan base is growing with you and getting bigger. So you can do comedy forever. You can be, Rodney Dangerfield. I saw Rodney Dangerfield do stand-up in L.A. one time. He had to be about 65 years old, 70 years old, and had the pad out, telling jokes about being married for 30-plus years and his kids. And, that's one of the things I love about comedy. I look forward to telling stories about my kid when he's 10, 20, 30. I look forward to that. But hip-hop does that thing, but they just date their acts out.
Yeah, man, we can't keep doing that. Anyway, let me move to another story. From hip-hop to R&B. Singer Monica, she's speaking out now about an altercation that happened at her Detroit concert over the weekend.
I know! Don't you get out like that. Listen. Y'all don't get that out of here. You want to play like that. You don't need no lady like that, nigga. You out your mind.
Now, while she was on stage, Monica says she saw a man punch a woman in the audience. In this video captured by a fan, you can see her jump off the stage to confront the man and was quickly surrounded by her security detail. The man was escorted out, and Monica, the Grammy Award winner, says that she was triggered, which caused her reaction. Now, on one hand, some folks are saying Monica should be applauded for this. Other people are upset that the brothers in the audience didn't intervene. Nobody's mad at Monica, but the question is, why are brothers videotaping a woman getting punched in the face instead of stopping a woman from getting punched in the face? Like, what should men do in these situations?
We're going to go right back to what I said earlier. This is the social media age where everybody wants content. Everybody wants to be the first person to post something so they get the most likes. Because in social media world, likes means credibility. Likes means, that people really like you. So the first thing I said when I heard about it was, where's all the other dudes that was there when the guy hit the girl? Like, where was the guys at? But this is Monica we talking about. You can never disrespect a woman around Monica or Mary J. Blige. If you disrespect a woman, a black woman around Monica or Mary J. Blige, expect to be engaged by Monica or Mary J. Blige. They write their music for sisters that's going through the struggle.
And that's why I love them, man, because they walk it like they talk it, man. All right, let's talk about Raven Simone. She says that she may be a lot more like her That's So Raven character than many realize. The podcast host says that she believes that she has psychic abilities like her character on the Disney TV show that ran from 2003 to 2007. Simone says she started developing psychic abilities when she was around 7. You buy it?
How come people that claim psychic abilities never hit the lotto? You can't see 6 numbers?
A great question. How about that? Yeah. All right. So, so I take it you don't buy it. But if you had a superpower or a psychic ability of any sort, what would it be? Like, would you want the ability just to see the numbers? If you could have any kind of superpower, what would you choose?
Oh, man, that's a good one. I would, any superpower?
Anyone.
Flight.
Really?
I would take Superman's abilities. I would take, in total, all of Superman's abilities. Bulletproof, flight, X-ray vision, all that. But if I got to take one, I'll take flight.
See, I feel like you rich, man. You got access to planes, helicopters, all kinds of stuff, man. And you choose flight, not absorbing bullets, not reading people's minds, not seeing them 6 numbers. You choose flight?
You said one. You said one. I would like to walk out the club one night and go, baby, let's get out of here. Throw my arm around here and go like this.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. All right. I got to think about it more. Anyway, Tony Rock is coming back to us for one more segment. I'm going to put him in a hot seat one more time. All right, family. We are back for a final minute with the legendary comic and actor Tony Rock. My brother, I got one final game for you. This one is a little more challenging, I think, if you're a New Yorker and a hip-hop head. All right? There are artists I'm about to name, and one of them has to go. When I say they got to go, I mean their entire music catalog. All of it. All right. Jay-Z, Nas, Biggie, Wu-Tang Clan.
Can I explain or just answer?
This one you can explain.
Okay, although I love him, and everybody that knows me knows that this dude is near and dear to my heart, I'm going to have to say Biggie because there is less of a body of work.
Ooh, he said he would get rid of Biggie. You know, that's how the internet gonna do you later today, right? There's gonna be no context for it. It's just gonna be like, Tony Rock says Biggie gotta go. But no, that's the right choice. That is absolutely you can't get rid of Jay-Z. And if you get rid of Wu-Tang, you get rid of like 5 million rap songs. And Nas, right. Same thing. I mean, you could make an argument for Nas if you just really love Biggie's first 2 albums. But to me, the answer is Biggie, like you said, just because it's only 2 albums. So we'll allow it only for that one reason, because Big might be still the illest of all 4 of them lyrically.
But you can't make an argument for Nas, because Nas might drop another album next week. Nas is on a roll right now.
He is killing the game right now. That Magic 2 just came out. It's fire. Proof that old men like us can still make great art. Anyway, Tony, thanks for joining me. Everybody, make sure you visit TonyRockComedy.com to see when he's coming to your city, and he will be there soon. His name is Tony Rock. He's a Brooklyn-born comedian. He's an actor. He is just an OG at this point, and I love having him on the show, so it's good to see him. My brother, thanks for hanging out with me tonight.
Thanks for having me, bro. I appreciate it.
Man, let's get into some of these stories because so much has been happening in the world today, and I want to get into it, man. Let's start with Florida. Ron DeSantis and the Sunshine State, y'all, are at it again. The Florida School Board has approved a new curriculum for teaching Black history, and that curriculum includes teaching students that slaves learn skills that would be of personal benefit. And then DeSantis tried to explain this, saying they're probably going to show that some of the folks that eventually were enslaved parlayed that into being a blacksmith, into doing things later in life. Tony, I don't know, man. What's going on in Florida?
First of all, when was the last time somebody applied for a blacksmith job? But the bigger issue is this. The bigger issue is they're not trying to erase our history. They're trying to erase their history. Because if we knew how horrific a history we had because of them, if you really knew, then reparations would seem like a small price to pay for the horrible atrocities that have occurred to Black people.
See, and that's the thing, right? Because I think you hit the nail on the head. But part of me is generous, right? And I'm like, are white people intentionally, take DeSantis out the mix, because he's human garbage, and I suspect he is doing it on purpose, and all the people who work for him are doing it on purpose. But the average white person that's like, yeah, talk about how the slaves learned to be a blacksmith, or talk about the violence Black people committed when they were massacred, right? I mean, when they're doing that, are they trying intentionally to erase history, or are they caught up in the mix too? Have they been kind of hypnotized by all this foolishness too?
They've been hypnotized, but they also know that they can try to rewrite their legacy. If their children are going to grow up and learn American history, and their children are going to come home and say, Mom, Dad, were we really that bad to people of color? And they're going to have to be honest with their children. So if they can change the entire narrative right now, then they can avoid that conversation. And, you know, white parents like to avoid having conversations about race with their children. Their whole thing is just stay away from Black people.
Right, that's kind of been the go-to move for a long time. Now, Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity just announced that they're going to pull out of the 2025 convention that they were having in Florida. I hear other people saying we're not going to Florida. Would you ever consider, as an artist, saying, you know what, I'm just not going to do any comedy shows in Florida, or is that not the right answer?
I can do that. I can get behind that movement. Unless we're talking about Miami. Well, if you're not going to Miami, you can kiss my ass. I'm going to Miami.
Wait a minute. So you're boycotting Boca Raton? You boycotting Sunrise, Florida?
Jacksonville, out of here.
I ain't mad
Miami,
at you.
On my way.
I ain't mad at you, bro. All right. Speaking of whitewashing, by the way, man, on this show a couple days ago, I had the opportunity to speak with a woman named Kim Klacik. She is a Black Republican from Baltimore, one of like 4 of those. And she recently ran for the House of Representatives. I think she got 20-some% of the vote. And I brought her on because I like to understand Black Republicans. I like to understand where they're coming from. And sometimes they're reasonable. You get like the Colin Powell Black Republican that sees the world a little different. Or you get the homeschool Black Republican, right? Not the I don't believe in dinosaurs Black Republican, right? But this one comes on, this person, this wonderful Black woman comes on, and she raises the question of whether Black people were better off after slavery. Because I began from the premise that, maybe slavery was bad for Black people. And she said this.
I'm not saying you being a slave from a family of slavery is great. I'm not saying it for myself either. But you can't sit here and say that your life would have been better without slavery, because we just don't know. We can look back onto the continent of Africa today, and we can say that there are a lot of places where people are leaving, seeking refuge to come here in America, because this is the land of opportunity.
So, Tony, how do you respond to this idea that things are bad in Africa anyway, and so that doesn't? So maybe if we had been left on our own, we'd be just as bad as some countries are now.
This is when we have to go back to the teachings of our grandparents when they heard just the most ridiculous things from a person, and they would just say it profoundly and from the heart. Child, God bless you, child.
That's all you can do.
Just let you wallow in your own ignorance and just say, God bless you, child.
That's, you know what? I'm going to start. I think my problem is I keep debating them, hoping that eventually they'll see the way. And I realize now, I'm starting to realize that they ain't trying to see the way because the money ain't on being a Democrat. If you're a and I'm not talking about Kim exclusively here. If you're any mediocre Negro, it's much better to be Republican. You can get pretty far down the line as a mediocre black Republican. As a Democrat, she might not even get a ticket to the DNC. But as a Republican, she was on stage speaking. I mean, it's a whole different. You know what? Maybe I'm doing this wrong. You know, maybe I could have an 8 o'clock show if I'm gonna start changing shit. You know what? Anyway, Ice Cube. Let's change conversations. Ice Cube. He's been taking some heat this week. I don't know if you saw this, but he did an interview with conservative commentator Tucker Carlson. You had Cube and Carlson driving through South Central Los Angeles. And Ice Cube is telling Tucker Carlson how he was excited to see Obama as president, but disappointed that nothing changed. How do you react when you see stuff like this?
Okay, first of all, I love Ice Cube because Ice Cube is trying to show us through, and I know a lot of people don't get it, but we have to have these conversations with these people that we wouldn't necessarily talk to if we really want to create some change. If we want to talk, we have to talk to Republicans if we want to get some change across the board. Maybe Ice Cube could be the guy to spark an idea that's like, well, we didn't look at it that way. So we can't just shun people and say we don't want to talk to them at all. We have to talk to everybody to really get some type of momentum going in this country as far as black and white people and just race relations and how black people look at the country as a whole. I will agree, though, that I did think, and maybe it was my own ignorance, but I thought that Barack Obama being in office, there was going to be at least 1 or 2 things to be just for black people that we could say Obama did this just for us. And I don't think that happened.
Yeah, there definitely wasn't no special Negro stuff, right? There was a way that healthcare helped us more than everybody else. Certain kinds of reforms helped us more than than everybody else. And I had the same criticism of Obama, too. I felt like he was the one president ever that couldn't say, you know, I'm going to do something for black people. And I think he should have. So I have the same criticism of Obama. And I agree with Ice Cube. We shouldn't be beholden to one party or the other. You know, we should be critical of everybody because none of them love us. I'm with all of that. But, you know, as I get older, I'm like, some people just don't need to be talked to. Like, he could have said all of that on a black network. And I don't mean me, right? Take me off. He could have went on the Breakfast Club and did it. He could have went, you know, other places to do it because I feel like when you go on racist platforms, you legitimize those platforms. That's the only thing that I would say I don't like. But I love Ice Cube. I love the Big Three. I love his legendary music. I will say just one more quick thing, and I want to know if you agree with me or not, though. When we get older, do we get, like, less? Like there was a time where Ice Cube would have cursed out Tucker Carlson on record, just like KRS-One used to criticize the system, and now he's doing freestyles with Eric Adams, who is the police. Like when we get older, we just losing sight of this stuff?
I think we get older and we realize like the anger didn't really get us anywhere. So maybe let's try this old man approach. Like Ice Cube can't fight like he used to fight. So KRS can't thump like he used to thump. So it's like, maybe I should try the older, come and sit on the porch, have a glass of lemonade approach. Maybe that'll help things. And you're right about that. The Republicans will always invite a black person in just to seem less racist. And that's the thing I'm always afraid of. Like I'm always cautious of who I talk to as far as like a Republican or just someone that has a different approach on America as far as I'm concerned, especially a white person, because I don't want to seem like, oh, we got this Negro to come and sit with us. We're not all bad.
Yep, and that's what they do. They could have had 50 million white people, but if it's a TV show, you're going to be in the opening montage. You're going to be on the commercial. If you know what I mean? If it's a politician, they're going to work you into every campaign speech for the next 20 years. And it's like, I always feel exploited when I'm around them. I feel just a little bit dirty. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back, y'all, because we're going to talk about something that sounds like a scene from an old sci-fi movie. But 3 former military officials testified before Congress that UFOs are real and that we need to take them seriously.
You believe UAPs pose a potential threat to our national security?
Yes. You're talking something that can go into space, go someplace, drop down in a matter of seconds, do whatever it wants, and leave, and there's nothing we can do about it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for staying with us on the grill. I am Marc Lamont Hill. I'm back with the comedian, the actor, the legend, Tony Rock. Now, backed with videos released by the government and their own first-hand observations, 2 former Navy pilots and a former Air Force intelligence officer described encounters with mysterious objects with astonishing capabilities. The hearings ended with both members of Congress and witnesses pushing for more government transparency on the issue. Now, Tony, I'm sorry. I grew up in the hood, in Philly, you know, and even in Brooklyn, you know, in Bushwick, you know, people on sidewalk tables telling me UFOs were coming to rescue us, with people telling me aliens was going to destroy us. There's a way that this always feels crazy to me, no matter who says it. When you hear this, do you buy it?
Well, a UFO is an unidentified flying object. So something in the sky that we can't identify, I understand that. But aliens with ray guns and big head, tiny bodies, I'm not.
And it's hard because, like, I don't trust the government at all. So, like, there could totally be a colony of aliens somewhere. Like, them saying it ain't true don't make me feel confident. In fact, it makes me feel the opposite. So I struggle with this, but for now, I think we're on the same page, man. I'm just going to say there's probably no alien life that we know of. But if there were, do you think that they would be like a superior, you know how like LeBron is against everybody else in the NBA? Are they going to be like that to us, or is it the opposite? Is it going to, you know what I'm saying? Is it going to be more like, you know what I mean? Like a Mario Chalmers? Are they like the Mario Chalmers of human species?
Well, if they've been studying us for years, it won't take much for them to be to us if they've been studying us for a long time.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. All right, I got some good news for y'all. Actually, I got excellent news for y'all. It's about the recovery of Jamie Foxx. The actor and comedian spoke out for the first time since being hospitalized months ago for an unspecified illness. In the video, Foxx said that he has been to hell and back and that he is on the road to full recovery, and he thanked his fans for their outpouring of support. Tony, I was incredibly happy to see that video. I had sent notes. I'm sure everybody sent notes to Jamie Foxx, you know, wishing him the best. But you know, when you don't see somebody, you just don't know where they are on their recovery. So seeing him sort of active and talking, and I was happy. I mean, how'd you feel when you saw that video?
Oh, I was elated. I was elated. I love Jamie. Jamie gave me a job years ago. One of the funniest guys ever doing it. Arguably one of the most talented people in Hollywood. Sing, rap, produce, act. He does it all. And I was so happy to see that he was, you know, on the road to recovery.
And, you know, I think there were people, and this is why I hate the internet. I mean, there's a million reasons to hate the internet, but one of my primary reasons for hating the internet is there were people who were like, his family should have told us more information. His daughter lied to us. The kid. It's like, why do people feel like they are entitled to know the most intimate parts of it? Let's say she did lie, for example. Let's say she said he was playing pickleball and he was really like in bed or something. Like, who cares? Why do we feel entitled to this stuff?
That's the social media era that we live in now. People feel like they're entitled to every aspect of your life. You can't keep any part of your life private, or they feel like they're being lied to. You're not telling us the whole story. There's a secret going on that they don't want to share. That's the social media aspect of life that we live in now. Everybody feels like they should have access to your entire life, beginning, middle, and end.
How do you navigate that for yourself as a celebrity? Like people I know want to know about you. They want to know about your family. They feel entitled to know about your romantic life, your personal life. How do you create boundaries, or do you feel like your life's an open book?
No, see, this is the thing. See, like in entertainment business, for example, if I get a new TV show, they're going to announce the name of the show, when it's going to air, how much I'm going to make an episode, where it's going to shoot, who's the cast members, who's the writer, producer, executive producer. They're going to give you all the info. They'll say, Tony Rock, born in Brooklyn, New York, just book the TV shows. They'll give you everything. So since they give so much away, some of my life has to be private. I have to keep some of it private. I try to keep my family, my immediate friends and family, I try to keep that private because everybody doesn't deserve access to everything. And people are so negative that when you give them a little bit of insight into your life, then here comes the negativity because they're not doing as good. Here comes the negativity because they just feel like misery loves company. They want other people to harp on the negative aspect that they're trying to comment on in your life. So I try to keep some of it private, but I know some of it is total access. And I just try to walk that fine line. I don't give you too much, and I give you just enough.
I think that's the right approach. Some people give more than others. I'll give you an example. This week, we heard a lot of talk about celebrities and their sexuality. Keke Palmer talked about publicly embracing her sexuality in a recent interview with Raven Simone and her wife, Miranda Madej. And this week, former NBA All-Star Dwight Howard finally addressed rumors regarding his sexuality. He was on Way Up with our girl Angela Yee, and he said he would never discuss his personal life and who is in his bed publicly. Now, it's one thing to say, you know, I don't want people to see my kids. Like, I don't post my kids on social media very often, and only the older ones now, and I didn't do that when they were younger, you know. Like, there's certain boundaries I have. But then when it comes to sexuality, you know, I feel like it should be completely off limits if a person wants it to be completely off limits. But then some people feel like, you know, if you do that, then you're kind of putting stigma to being gay or being straight or being this or being that. I'm not saying Dwight Howard's any of those things. I don't know anything about Dwight Howard's sex life. I'm saying that because I don't want this show to be called the Dwight Howard Channel. But how do you make sense of the sexuality piece? Like, should celebrities just stay completely off that terrain at all altogether?
It's such a double-edged sword, because when he says something like, I'm never going to discuss it, then you give people the ability to take it and run with their own narrative. He wouldn't say it. That's because he's this or he's that. That's why he wouldn't say it, because he's this or that, you know? Because if he was straight, he would just say it. Who wouldn't say it if they just straight? Well, if he was gay, why don't he just say it, you know? So then that's when the social media aspect of the world comes in, and you give them the credence to run with the narrative that they create, and everybody's going to get behind it.
I think that's right, man, and I hate that, and that's why I want people to get their own lives. I want people to get their own stories. So, because I feel like the people who are most invested in other people's lives are miserable. And I'm not just talking about everyday people. I'm talking about some of these gossip bloggers, some of these podcast hosts. I mean, they might be good at podcasting, but a lot of them are terrible at life.
That's why, you know what? That's why I'm on social media so infrequently, because I'm really too busy living in real time. I'm outside. I'm living my life. I'm having fun with my friends and my family. I love my kid. I'm out with my kid as much as I can be. I'm not really stuck in the house on the phone worrying about who's eating what girl's showing her ass today, who has a fake beef, because the beef ain't real on the internet. I live in real time, bro.
Everybody stay right here. My final word after this quick break. All right, family, we have reached the end of the show, but before I let you go, a word about craft. Tony Rock, earlier in the show, talked about picking up that notepad every day and writing jokes. It's nothing more inspirational to me than watching people who are at the height of their gifts still do the daily discipline of working on their craft. If you right now are in school, it means you read every day. If you're learning an instrument, it means you practice every single day. If you're aspiring to be a stand-up comedian, it means you got to work on the jokes every day. But it's not just about being an artist. If we invest in our gifts, invest in ourselves, invest in our possibilities on a daily basis, we can do anything. Some of y'all want to lose 50 pounds. Some of y'all want to go back and get your GED or your high school diploma or your PhD, whatever the thing is, you can do it. It's not just a fight of the gifted. It is not a race to the swift. It is about those who commit to doing the daily work of working on your craft. So tonight, when we air this show and you watch this show and the show goes off the air, I want you to write down something that you want to commit to, something about yourself, some gift that you have, some talent that you want to locate, something you want to retrieve, recover, and you write it down and you commit to working on it every day just for 6 months and see how much better you'll be for doing so.